Hill is heavily connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sure it would be Tyreek's first place if he could pick to go back to. At least I would think it would be. And the Chiefs have a need, and the Chiefs are interested, and they're not worried about any of his other question marks.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
51-0, Donnie.
Yeah.
Those numbers don't lie. Georgia, every time they rush for over 200 yards, that's dating back from 2017 against FCS and FBS opponents. They don't lose. The 2 years that they won back-to-back national championships, year one, they rushed for over 208 times. Year two, when they beat TCU, that year they rushed for over 206 times.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look at the weather, try to look for some anytime touchdowns or maybe some props that you really feel confident about. But it's always the time for urgency, especially for a team like the New York Giants. I think that defense is something that can give Giants fans hope. And then if you get Dart under center, it's hope. And then if you can get Scatterboo out there and the whole building's going boo, it's hope. And as we know, hope works.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Live on SportsGrid, Kevin Walsh with you on a Thursday night with another edition of Game Time Decisions live here on the Decisions Desk. You know the focus will be on Thursday night football and AFC East battle that we will get to between the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. Have I already tipped my hand on what I'm doing in this game tonight? Ask the copious number of Dolphin-related photos I've tweeted out over the last 24 hours. We will break this game down in its entirety. We will be talking to Donnie Rightside about this matchup. Curious if he's ready to dive into the props market with these two teams. Mike Blewett joins us in an hour to get his breakdowns not only for this game, but a really big 1 o'clock Sunday NFL slate, which features the Philadelphia Eagles in a divisional round rematch with the LA Rams, which Mike will be covering, a part of the Sunday in-game live coverage right here, of course, on SportsGrid. Excited for that. We will also tonight keep our eye on the Major League Baseball board. There are still 4 games to be played. We've already played a few, and we've tracked the wild card races in large part due to this portion of the calendar that we are in. All of a sudden, it feels like we need to put some eyes on the AL Central, where the red-hot Guardians win again. This time, though, they were going head-to-head with the Detroit Tigers, and the Tigers in this matchup were throwing Tariq Skubal. So, not great if you are Detroit, a divisional lead that had felt all but done and secure for the length of this season, still priced that way at minus 1,100, but if Cleveland takes the next one, that will be on the move. Speaking of on the move in Major League Baseball, we did get the official word that this will be Clayton Kershaw's final season as he will move on into retirement, an illustrious career that will see him enter Cooperstown on his first time on the ballot, undoubtedly. What is new for Clayton Kershaw, because I think we all knew he was retiring once Major League Baseball placed him in the All-Star game, is Clayton Kershaw no longer plays, despite not retiring yet, for the World Series favorites. Because the Dodgers are no longer the World Series favorites. The status that they had held all season long was taken by the Philadelphia Phillies in a series in L.A. that saw the Phillies throughout clinch the NL East. and take the series overall from the Dodgers, despite it being on the road. This is a spot now where you can certainly argue Dodger value. It's the best Dodger number you have seen all season long. It's remarkable that for the Philadelphia Phillies, the loss of Zach Wheeler has not kneecapped them more. I thought it would. I thought it would drop them a ton. At the time, was in that NL Cy Young race with Paul Skeens. Not the matter, as the Phils are currently your World Series favorites. A change, does that present some opportunity? We'll talk about that a little bit more tonight. There's also some awards movement in Major League Baseball that we are tracking. We're also tracking the WNBA playoff action. We have 2 games for you. We also, yesterday, had another 2 games, and it's been remarkable how much home court has mattered, but also just how even these teams are. The Minnesota Lynx, who are the favorites and the only team who actually finished their series in 2 games, a double-digit favorite against the Valkyries, snuck on by with a 1-point win against Golden State. Now, for the Lynx, that, them being the only team already through, has strengthened their number above -150. They will find out who they are going to play in the next round tomorrow when we see the Mercury and the Liberty on Friday. Tonight, it's a 2-pack. It starts in Atlanta. The Dream, a 7.5-point favorite, handled home court in the first game of the series. The Fever, though, very impressive in the second game. Total checks in at 154.5. And the Vegas Aces, playing off of a loss for the first time in a long time. Vegas with a 16-game winning streak to end the regular season, made it 17 with the first one in this series, lost in collapse is a little strong, but they were up almost 15 points in that game against the Seattle Storm. Saw it slip away. They would have loved to avoid having to play a third game back up against the wall elimination game and just get a little bit of a rest advantage and boost over their next round's opponent, whether that be Atlanta or Indiana. That's not going to be the case. Vegas, though, still positioned in a good spot relative to the odds. They sit at plus 310 in the market. Every other team is 11-1 or longer right now to win the WNBA championship. Of course, on this Thursday, we are talking football. We're going to get heavily into this NFL game tonight. As I mentioned, we'll put our eyes on it tomorrow. The numbers have moved a little bit around this spread tonight. The 12.5s had been out there for quite some time. They are still, in some places, though more 11.5s. Not a key number, so for most people, if you're only a one-stop shop kind of guy and you can only get the 11.5 if you are on a Miami side, not a nightmare. On the other side of that, if you're all about Buffalo and you want to lay that number, you may be alting this up anyway, but laying it at 12.5 as opposed to 11.5, it would be a stunner if this game landed 12 tonight between Buffalo and Miami. There was some important injury news that was being tracked throughout this one before we fully get into the picks around Jalen Waddle, wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins. Waddle's had I don't know if I can say anyone's had a good start to the season for Miami, but he's been fine enough for the Miami Dolphins. If he was out, that, of course, was going to elevate what we would see for Tyreek Hill props here in this game. Instead, it's going to be, we think, status quo for Jalen Waddle, which really does give you an idea. The healthier team in this football game seems to be the Miami Dolphins. Buffalo banged up in the secondary, something to keep your eye on. College football-wise as well, I have a challenge to the people. There's only one game tonight, 7:30. So it's in the American. Charlotte and Rice. 2.5-point spread in favor of Rice on the road. 41.5 listed total. Couple of teams, hard to tell. Charlotte lost to UNC 20-3, not great. But then again, that was a big-time UNC spot. Rice got, handled by Houston. But again, Houston looks to be a decent team in the Big 12. It's a tricky one. Do I lean a certain way? Maybe. You tell me. Feel free to tweet at us, at SportsGrid, or tweet at myself, at the Kevin Walsh. What are you doing with Charlotte Rice? I'll let you instruct me. If somebody can convince me what to do with this one, again, low total, Owls and Niners, let us know. The college football weekday slate does not inspire a ton of confidence. People will not be sprinting to the window for this game tonight. Tomorrow is Oklahoma State, Tulsa, and then Rutgers, which we can't even bet here in Jersey, Iowa. It's just Saturday's going to be solid, though. And we've already settled up some of that yesterday. We talked some of our college picks on the show. We'll talk college a lot more tomorrow. We'll have Coach on, so we'll get that all settled for you here as well. But again, the focus of this show tonight is going to be more so around Buffalo and Miami, and we're going to get, like I said, insight from both Donnie Rightside and Mike Blewett of what they're going to do for this game here tonight. And it is a game that, if the unthinkable happens, it is going to move the market massively. If Tua can brace the 70-degree weather as he's bundled up heading into this one and stun Josh Allen, Super Bowl markets, division markets, and MVP markets will be a-changing. We dive into Thursday Night Football after this break on SportsGrid.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
If you're in the Super Bowl market, if you're in the futures market, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is heavily connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sure it would be Tyreek's first place if he could pick to go back to. At least I would think it would be. And the Chiefs have a need, and the Chiefs are interested, and they're not worried about any of his other question marks.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
They have Boise State, they have Arkansas, they have USC. There's no shot in Purdue. Those are the only big games that they have the rest of the way. They're not getting back into the college football playoff. They're not, Donnie. I don't care if they've won 10 straight.
Remember when they lost to NIU? No way, no care. What happens the rest of the season? They can't get in. Who was in the college football championship last year?
But they had marquee wins at some point.
I don't care. They lost to NIU.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I needed a mental break when the season was over. Because it's a lot. It's a lot. You get tired of training. But, man, I never get tired of playing golf. I love it. I mean, every course is different. Every day is different. And some days you're like, oh, I got this. I got it. Then you go out there and shoot a 95 the next day. I'm like, damn.
The Smiley Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Look at the weather, try to look for some anytime touchdowns or maybe some props that you really feel confident about. But it's always the time for urgency, especially for a team like the New York Giants. I think that defense is something that can give Giants fans hope. And then if you get Dart under center, it's hope. And then if you can get Scatterboo out there and the whole building's going boo, it's hope. And as we know, hope works.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Plenty of football on a Thursday. This show is going to respect Charlotte Rice tonight. I already got a tweet flying in and letting me know what to do. Also, immediately, Chris in the back ran in and tried to sell me on the total, which was the least surprising thing that could happen. But let's focus up here on this matchup between the Bills and the Dolphins. And let's just try and appropriately figure out who the Miami Dolphins are and where they stand in this league. There are odds entering this week to have the worst record in football. You will find the Saints and the Browns rightfully at the top of the bottom. It's then the Giants, and then the Panthers, and then the Jets, and then the Titans, all supposed to be there. They're there. And then come the Miami Dolphins and the Chicago Bears, who have had a very, very rough start to year number 2 of Caleb Williams. Is it unfair that the Miami Dolphins are on that list? No. Is there a lot of value on Miami at 9-1? Maybe. Sometimes those things happen. But it is important to understand that Miami is not the Cleveland Browns. Why is that relevant? Well, last week, we saw a team catch 12.5 points, and it was the Cleveland Browns. And I think anyone should be able to agree that the Dolphins, if they were playing the Browns this week, neutral site game, maybe they were going to play after Charlotte and Rice, I don't care. Miami would be favored. And who did Cleveland play in that game that they were getting 12.5? Baltimore. You know, the team who in week number 1 lost to Buffalo and is still now retaking the spot as Super Bowl favorites and was favored against Buffalo in Buffalo. This is Spread Math 101. This is the stuff that I talk about all the time. And it is something that I am legitimately stunned by. Look, I can't perfectly predict what every line is going to be, but I'd like to think I can get into the ballpark. 12.5 is stunning for a short week divisional game. A Dolphins team, mind you, not that long ago, hosted these Bills in a Week 18 game where if Miami won it, they win the division. And Buffalo would have been out of the playoffs, in fact. I get things have changed. Not that much. Tua is out there. He threw for 300 last week. Did they lose? Yes. By 1,000? No. They lost by 6 to a, I think, good Patriots team. The Bills destroyed the Jets. Great. I'm old enough to remember that number started 7 and kept getting bet down to 5.5. Too many points in a divisional game. And we've now more than doubled it against the Dolphins, who are better than the Jets. They have better odds than them to other. You get the point. The Jets have shorter odds, have the worst record. Dolphins have better odds to win the AFC East. The numbers don't lie. The spread does. You have known this since what, Monday on this show, if you tune in every day? Certainly by Tuesday. I am on the Dolphins plus 12.5. I think it's more likely that they go out there and stun the Bills than lose this game by 14. And I can't wait to watch it play out. Because if I'm wrong, then so be it. McDaniel will be fired tomorrow. Tyreek will be traded soon after that. But I don't think I'm going to be wrong. It's my best bet here on a Thursday. We don't give you just one best bet. We give you a couple because our crew always steps up to the window. Chris, a pretty sharp way to find some plus money on Josh Allen to get into the end zone. Plus 155 for a first half touchdown. Obviously, there's some increased risk there. What I would say, just if you are willing to and if you structure the units correctly, if you don't win that wager, you will then be able to get back in on Josh Allen's live touchdown at halftime at a plus price as well. And you'll get, as long as he finds the end zone, you'll be able to get some profit onto the board. So I don't mind that look from Chris. Sam's going to lay 3.5 of the first quarter with the Buffalo Bills against the Miami Dolphins. The notion, a hot start. We'll find out. We'll find out. But the Dolphins are playing in their Super Bowl. Let's be very clear about that. This is the game. This is the one. This is a legitimate turning point in their franchise's history. That's not being overstated. I know sometimes like, Gav, you're overreacting. Okay, well, what about longtime NFL insider Adam Kaplan? When I asked him, could we see Mike McDaniel fired if they lose this game, said he could see it. Didn't promise it, didn't report it, didn't guarantee it, but said he could see it. What about literally anywhere else you listen to? the conversations around Miami. Mike McDaniel's tenure as the coach of the Miami Dolphins could very well be on the line tonight. And in that, if McDaniel's gone, you're getting another day closer to regime changes, which means another day closer to a new regime wanting a new quarterback. So Tua's time as a starter, that clock starts to tick a little bit louder. Again, the Tyreek Hill trade conversation, all of that starts to tick a little bit louder. I think the Dolphins step up here. Let's figure out who's getting into the end zone, though, because the jackpot special, which I know a lot of you have been playing, trying to get some of those bonus bets. Does your guy score first or last? The boys in the back have been hot figuring out who is going to get that first touchdown score. They hunt for value. They've been hitting the touchdown numbers. So, look, I like what I bring to the table, but they've been fantastic. Kofsky's going to go to Khalil Shakir. Sam goes to Keon Coleman. Both over 2-1. If you hit that bet, fantastic. But again, if you get him for the jackpot, you may get a big-time number. I'll take Devon A-Chain. I think just from a pure touchdown perspective, A-Chain offers the best value on the board. A plus price here can do it on the ground and through the air. We know that with Miami. And if he scores first, my, oh my, are we going to have ourselves a fun night. I wasn't able to get a Dolphin hat in time. I'd wear a big Dolphin head. Nose. Is that what they do? Let's talk some Major League Baseball next. You're in the Super Bowl market, if you're in the futures market, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is heavily connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sure it would be Tyreek's first place if he could pick to go back to. At least I would think it would be. And the Chiefs have a need, and the Chiefs are interested, and they're not worried about any of his other question marks.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
51-0, Donnie.
Yeah.
Those numbers don't lie. Georgia, every time they rush for over 200 yards, that's dating back from 2017 against FCS and FBS opponents. They don't lose. The 2 years that they won back-to-back national championships, Year one, they rushed for over 208 times. Year two, when they beat TCU, that year they rushed for over 206 times.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look at the weather, try to look for some anytime touchdowns or maybe some props that you really feel confident about. But it's always the time for urgency, especially for a team like the New York Giants. I think that defense is something that can give Giants fans hope. And then if you get Dart under center, it's hope. And then if you can get Scatterboo out there and the whole building's going boo, it's hope. And as we know, hope works.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
GameTime Decisions with you right here on a Thursday night. We've got your guy Donnie right side around the corner. We got a lot to get to at DRS. I'm hearing word on the street is 2 weeks in, he's ready to dive in, seeing the NFL clearly. Also, Mr. Major League Baseball, his Philadelphia Phillies, favored to win the World Series. Can we just start there for a second? Can we just, because I remember a month ago, the Dodgers hit 4-1 to win the World Series. I was close. I almost said that's the best of it. And then the more you looked at it, like, they're not playing great. What if the Padres catch them? Let's wait. And the Padres have not caught the Dodgers. They might. It's certainly not a foregone conclusion. The Dodgers, though, sitting at a minus 1250 favorite to win that division. The expectation is it will be LA. But really the change here has actually been less about the Dodgers not living up to their billing and more about the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies, 2.5 back of the Brewers when we're talking best record in baseball. But if the Phillies didn't meet the Brewers in an NLCS, they would be favorites. And Milwaukee's lack of pedigree impacts that pricing. And if Philadelphia were to, depending on how the bracket works out, play the Dodgers in a series, the Phillies would be favored to win that series just through home field advantage. Now, we just saw the Phils and the Dodgers go head-to-head. And again, those games, the Dodgers check in as favorites because the Dodgers throw Ohtani and Snell and Yamamoto and Glasnow. And they would not be, without a chance if they played Philadelphia. But if you flip home field advantage, the Phils are going to be favored in the first 2 games of that series, assuming they're able to line up their pitching appropriately and the value of the bye. If I'm, if we're looking at this right, let's say it all ends today, Brewers, Phillies get a bye, Cubs, Met, Dodgers, Padres, that's not an easy one for LA to necessarily work through. And this changing number for the Dodgers, it is tempting because you can't argue against it. If I tell you I'm getting the best number on a team you have seen all year long, how many teams in baseball can you go, that's the best number you've seen this season? Now, maybe like the Reds or like the Diamondbacks, right? These long shots that aren't supposed to make it in because their numbers, as they become less likely to crack into the dance, get bigger. So 200-1 Reds, 300-1 D-backs, 400-1 San Francisco Giants. But teams that are actually going to be there, like the Dodgers, like if you look at it, is 8-1 the best number you've seen on the Blue Jays? No. 7-1 the best number you've seen on the Brewers? Obviously not. That's what makes the Dodgers tempting because it's such an easy... It's really an easy bet to justify. I'm just not sure it's the right bet. But I'm not also running to bet the Phillies. As I've said, and they have shown that they can keep their heads above water. And I'm curious Donnie's thoughts on this, so we will get them. But I can't get over them losing Zach Wheeler. It is hard to imagine they lose Zach Wheeler and win a World Series. Now, then again, the Braves a couple of years ago lost Ronald Acuna Jr. and won a World Series. So it's not impossible. But for them to lose Wheeler and be booked as favorites, it becomes a hard number for me to work with. On this baseball slate tonight, the Dodgers will go. They're lined up in division at home against the Giants. Yamamoto, about a minus 170 range favorite against Logan Webb. That gets you a lower total in that game. You've got a 740 Brewers Angels. Kikuchi gets the ball for LA against Priester. Hunter Green booked as a favorite in a gotta-have-it game for the Cincinnati Reds if they want to keep applying pressure to the Mets, who did win again earlier today. And then you get the Yankees and the Orioles, and pressure remains on for Aaron Judge in his march to winning another AL MVP. That number down. This was up to minus 900, I know, at least just a couple of days ago. Down to minus 350. Why? Cal Raleigh. If Cal Raleigh's hot, it means he's hitting home runs. That's all Cal Raleigh can really do these days. But he's hitting home runs. That's upping the batting average now, almost at 250. Impressive. But when Judge gets to 50 home runs, it's going to shift again. And Judge is hot is incredibly hot right now. So I'm not here telling you Judge has got incredible value at minus 350, but the Cal Raleigh cut in price doesn't speak to me. I think that you would be getting really the worst of that number with where it is positioned right now. We hit a break. We come on back. Let's get Donnie Right-Side's thought on what we just talked about in the baseball world, but of course, what is he seeing on Thursday Night Football? Bills Dolphins. We'll ask him next. you're in the Super Bowl market, if you're in the futures market, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is heavily connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sure it would be Tyreek's first place if he could pick to go back to. At least I would think it would be. And the Chiefs have a need, and the Chiefs are interested, and they're not worried about any of his other question marks.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
51-0, Donnie.
Yeah.
Those numbers don't lie. Georgia, every time they rush for over 200 yards, that's dating back from 2017 against FCS and FBS opponents. They don't lose. The 2 years that they won back-to-back national championships, year one, they rushed for over 208 times. Year two, when they beat TCU, that year they rushed for over 206 times.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look at the weather, try to look for some anytime touchdowns or maybe some props that you really feel confident about. But it's always the time for urgency, especially for a team like the New York Giants. I think that defense is something that can give Giants fans hope. And then if you get Dart under center, it's hope. And then if you can get Scatterboo out there and the whole building's going boo, it's hope. And as we know, hope works.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
GameTime Decisions live with you right here on SportsGrid from the Decisions Desk. We're making decisions all day, all week, all the time. Let's get our guy Donnie Rightside to help us out here. Good old DRS, of course, you can catch him on the early line Monday through Friday. You can catch him Saturday mornings on College Football Today on SportsGrid as well. Donnie, how are we feeling? A little AFC action here on a Thursday.
I feel good about tonight's game. You take a look at it's everything you want. A team that's really struggling, the Miami Dolphins, that has weapons at wide receiver and a quarterback and a coach that could get fired after tonight. You have the Buffalo Bills who are moving the ball at will against everybody. And then also, you're in Buffalo. Oh, no, Kevin. 32 degrees, wind chill 19 degrees. No. High 60s tonight. No wind, no rain. Why are we not getting points tonight, Kevin? That's what we're talking about.
One of the highest totals of the week. I've not talked much about this total, Donnie. It checks in at 50.5. Are you looking to play this towards the over, or are you using that as a guide to have a little bit more confidence in the prop market?
I'm using this as a guide. Now, here's the struggle that we have, Kevin, and I've explained this multiple times. Like, when I look at the Detroit Lions, I go, man, they're going to go over their total, and go, am I going Jared Goff over 2 touchdowns? Am I going with Jahmyr Gibbs? Am I going with Montgomery? Am I going with Williams? Am I going with, Amon-Ra St. Brown? There's so much action you can take. And I feel the same way tonight about the Buffalo Bills, where James Cook could get 3 touchdowns. Khalil Shakir could wake up and get 2 touchdowns. The tight ends could participate. Keon Coleman could get in the end zone. Like, I don't think you can miss tonight, which is some of the toughest games that you could pick. Like, how did I go Keon Coleman tonight when everybody else scored except for my guy? So you know what I did? I kept it simple tonight. The engine that makes the Buffalo Bills go is Josh Allen. Did I take him to get a rushing touchdown? No, but he probably gets one. I took him in the air tonight, Kevin. No doubt in my mind, he's throwing 2 touchdowns tonight. If they're projected to score 4 touchdowns tonight, which they are, how does he not throw 2? What, he runs 3 in and breaks my heart tonight? Come on now. He's throwing 2 in the end zone, Kevin. He is.
Josh Allen, Donnie, moved to the MVP favorite off of the Week 1 Sunday night game.
Yes.
I mean, the stage, the comeback, it all made sense. But Josh didn't do much last week against the New York Jets. 148 yards, no touchdowns, whether that be throwing or running. Do you think that Josh Allen needs a big game to hold on to his MVP status here tonight?
I love where you just went with that question, because, I mean, no slant. Like, Jalen Hurts goes out and pulls out a victory in Kansas City. He stinks out loud because he doesn't throw any touchdowns. Josh Allen, woo-hoo! MVP, baby, after beating the New York Jets, who are horrible. But there's no way, shape, or form. Understand this. Coaches, players, everybody knows what the drill is. If they go out and we just want to win football games, you think Josh Allen's answer questions that hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in 2 weeks and what's wrong with the Buffalo offense and is Josh Allen really the MVP? No doubt in my mind, Kevin. I love where your mind is at, which means if he ran 3 in last week, he's not looking to say, well, let me run 3 in together. Whoa, I got to balance out these statistics here. I know they don't look at it that way, but we're human beings. There's no way. 3rd and goal at the 1-yard line. I can run this in easily or flip this to Dalton Kincaid for a touchdown. He's flipping the ball for a touchdown pass. No doubt, Kevin. No doubt.
Can we just let's play a new game called Tell Me If I'm Wrong, though. I want to pull up the MVP odds. Donnie, tell me if I'm wrong. By far the worst bet someone could make is Jaden Daniels at 12-1, who is currently injured and a comfortable second choice in his own division. I cannot believe his number has not moved.
Somebody would be saying right now, I think, you know what? He's injured. His number's 12-1. I like him even more right now.
Yeah.
I like him even more. Like somebody will be saying that. But you're right about that. Like, look at the names up there. It's like, who's going to win this? The usual suspects at this point. But I know we love to bag on Patrick Mahomes at 25-1. Can the kid get even 20 points in a game? It feels like it's kind of tough. Could they get knocked off by the Giants this week? But I do agree. The cream is going to rise to the top. And there's that guy, Lamar Jackson. They're going to put up 35-plus points every single week. There's going to be a shootout Monday night. I would not be surprised, Kevin, if Lamar Jackson overtakes Josh Allen. Not because I don't think Josh Allen has a big night, but if we're looking at 35-31 on Monday night, prime time, Lamar Jackson heated up, he's going to get that bump.
It's a long season, but to what you said about Mahomes, I don't know if it would be hard to sell me to bet Mahomes to an MVP until you show me the Jaden Daniels number. And it's basically the best bet I've ever seen. Mahomes is double the number of Jaden Daniels. He's not playing this weekend. It is an insane price. That is just how I see it. Now, new game, Donnie, sell me something. One of your absolute favorites.
I love it. Hot or not.
DRS. I love the Dolphins in this game. And I don't know if you're on a side. I know you like your prop, but you've got a situation where Buffalo is laying the same amount that Baltimore laid to Cleveland. Look at that. Yeah. That's me and all my buddies flipping around excited about Dolphin Day, okay? You've also got a situation, Donnie, where the injury report for Buffalo isn't a clean one. Matt Milano, I heard all last year from Bills faithful, you can't judge it until Matt Milano's back. Well, he's not playing tonight.
He's never
Big
back.
Reason why this total is picking up here. I don't know if you're going to get to a side tonight, Donnie, but am I crazy? I'm all about the Dolphins in this game.
You know the way I usually think about Thursday Night Football, right? Home team or no team and try and move on. But there are extenuating circumstances. Usually when Miami goes to Buffalo, which I think they haven't won since 2016, it's late December. They're getting their brains beat in and it's freezing cold. They just want to get home. That's not the case. And also understand this. There's a lot of pressure in that Dolphins building. They go 0-3. Changes will be made. Wide receivers will be traded. Quarterbacks will be like, oh, does he have a buyout like Daniel Jones in his 2-year deal? What a genius move that is. They'll be looking for that fine print on his contract. But I know where you're going with this. You cannot take anything from last week's Jets game. The Jets don't have an offense. Justin Fields is a running back playing quarterback. He was disgustingly bad for 3 quarters. But when you look at the Miami offense, they can do some things. Achane looks as fast and as healthy as ever. That's a plus. Oh, look at this. Tyreek Hill's catching 30-plus yard balls again. That's a plus. Last week, Jalen Waddle gets in the end zone. That's a plus. And if anybody out there coming into tonight says the best way to beat the Buffalo Bills is keep Josh Allen off the field, which means the Dolphins are going to turn into a running attack, that's not happening. They're going to go down swinging. 35-plus passes from Tua Tagovailoa, deep shots here, leave it all out on the field. You're not asking them to win the football game. You're asking them, Kevin, to be down 17 points in the fourth quarter and still trying to save their season with 2 minutes to go. Isn't that all you're asking for?
Well, to be honest with you, Donnie, I'd much prefer not to have to ask for that. I'd like for them to actually be winning the football game, maybe, or down 4. Donnie, I was watching Monday Night Football. I took the Raiders plus 3.5. The Chargers kept throwing the football. Geno Smith got the ball for a backdoor cover 3 to 4 times. Guy gave me nothing. We couldn't pick up first down. So I'd rather not deal with that pain. Let me ask you this, Donnie, before we let you get out of here, and always appreciate it again. The early line, make sure you're Monday through Friday with DRS and Joe Ranieri. The Phillies as World Series favorites.
Yes.
Do they deserve that price?
Yes, I heard you talking, which is people will look at that. And I've been under the assumption all summer long. I didn't care what the Dodgers did. They should always be the favorite. But things do change. The Dodgers are really good. If they have that starting pitching, which you saw in that series against the Phillies, which somehow the series went 2 out of 3, despite hitting like 0-54 against the starting pitching, the Phillies have home field advantage. That is the key. That's why they're favored. And I do agree with that. That's a big deal. And you've seen it in the past. I know I don't correlate and go back a long time, but the Phillies have a great history of knocking the Dodgers out of the playoffs due to some magic at Citizens Bank Park. That what I agree with, but also you're getting a good price point on the Dodgers. This isn't the same Dodgers team over the past 2.5 weeks. If you get guys like Blake Snell, Yamamoto dealing, that team is going to be hell on wheels in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to follow. Anything you're tracking on that late night baseball board that's about to start?
Cincinnati Reds win tonight over 4.5 plus 110 team total for the Reds. It makes a lot of sense. Yesterday, the Cubs clinched. Ray's not a good pitcher on the road, taking that flight. They should hit tonight 5 runs for the Reds. Just like I told you last week, Kevin, those Yankees would hit. Oh, they hit
you
that
sure
night,
did.
Yes, they
I
did.
think they scored 100 runs if my memory serves there. Good old Donnie Right Side,
Kevin.
early line, Monday through Friday, college football, Saturday mornings. He and Joe Lisi. We turn it over to the W next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
If you're in the Super Bowl market, if you're in the futures market, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is heavily connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sure it would be Tyreek's first place if he could pick to go back to. At least I would think it would be. And the Chiefs have a need, and the Chiefs are interested, and they're not worried about any of his other question marks.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
They have Boise State, they have Arkansas, they have USC. There's no shot in Purdue. Those are the only big games that they have the rest of the way. They're not getting back into the college football playoff. They're not, Donnie. I don't care if they've won 10 straight.
Remember when they lost to NIU? No way, no care. What happens the rest of the season? They can't get in. Who was in the college football championship last
But they
year?
had marquee wins at some point
I don't
last
care. They
year.
lost to NIU.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I needed a mental break when the season was over. Because it's a lot. It's a lot. You get tired of training. But, man, I never get tired of playing golf. I love it. I mean, every course is different. Every day is different. And some days you're like, oh, I got this. I got it. Then you go out there and shoot a 95 the next day. I'm like, damn.
The Smiley Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Look at the weather, try to look for some anytime touchdowns or maybe some props that you really feel confident about. But it's always the time for urgency, especially for a team like the New York Giants. I think that defense is something that can give Giants fans hope. And then if you get Dart under center, it's hope. And then if you can get Scatterboo out there and the whole building's going boo, it's hope. And as we know, hope works.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Live with you right here on a Thursday night on SportsGrid. Still a lot of good stuff to come. We're going to talk to Marcelino Ortiz around the world of soccer in about 10 minutes' time here. Always great to talk to Marcelino. Just keep up to date what's going on. MLS, Premier League. He's fantastic. He's on top of it. We've got Mike Blewett coming up in about 25. Is that right? 25 minutes time here? Less. 15 minutes time, excuse me. And it'll be really good to get an idea of what Blewett is seeing heading into this game, but also the weekend at large. There's a lot of good 1 o'clock spots on the NFL, whether that be, the obvious Rams-Eagles, the interesting Jags-Texans, or Carson Wentz coming back, which if Blewett is not prepared to answer, that's on him. Before we get over to the football again, tonight you've got 2 games in the WNBA. We'll start with the Dream and the Fever. And Indiana was more impressive in their win than Atlanta theirs, right? You can just see that within the margin. The books here kind of go, carbon copy, same exact spread as game number 1. I do think it is such a fascinating structure the WNBA's format is here in this opening round. Every game feels, you can't give a game, right? Like if you're the Dream and you lose the first game, you've not only coughed up home court, but you're now up against elimination, right? Obviously, they win it. Okay, now the Fever are up against it. It's, it creates a lot of travel. It's a really, really fascinating setup that they have. Again, with all of this said, I lean towards Indiana tonight in this game. They did not hit their offensive ceiling in either one of these games. As trust me, I know on a team total over of 77.5, landing 77 in the second game, the Fever were good, not great on offense. And the Fever, despite losing Caitlin Clark, have shown they are capable of great offensive games, whether that be Kelsey Mitchell getting red hot, Aaliyah Boston having a dominant effort on the inside. And I think they provide a bit of a higher offensive ceiling in this matchup. Now, I think due to the elimination nature, that's why we've seen this total drop down to 154.5. I think the Fever have a real chance. I don't know if I'm ultimately going to get there and play it. It's a Thursday. We're focused on the football, but, we still break these things down for everybody. I find myself pushing towards Indiana. Vegas-Seattle is a little different, where the Storm have been such an inconsistent basketball team. And why that is going to be very, very frustrating for Seattle to, come to terms with when their season is over, whether that be tonight or, in another round. I don't think they're going to win the WNBA championship. And I played a little Seattle Storm coming into the year. I still have the tickets. I don't ever think that they will be paying those tickets out. I think they will lose this game. What Seattle will, I think, struggle with is just their best is as good as anyone, right? This is a team who not just, beating Vegas here, but we've seen them give the Lynx trouble, right? One of really few teams in the league. I think they were the first team this season who maybe beat Minnesota. So we've seen that for them. But those inconsistencies, I think, could see this be Vegas early and on it, and it starts to get a little downhill. But for Vegas, who has now, you have to realize how long it has been since the Aces have lost a game. Their last loss was August 2nd, right? That was we've talked about it a handful of times. It was a 53-point loss to Minnesota. Now, Vegas hasn't lost to a team that isn't the Lynx since July 24th. So you're talking now a very long time since anybody's really been able to put a scare into Vegas. How do they bounce back? Again, I think it is on the board that they respond early. Like, I think there is, even from a narrative sense of it, more so than the books priced it wrong, I think there's some value on Vegas up big at the break, right? They were up huge at the break of game number 1. It was a 45-25 lead. They were up solidly, or actually they were only up a point, though, in the game against Seattle. They had extended in the third quarter. I think there's some meat on the bone, though, to Vegas first half alts, because if they're going to respond to this loss appropriately, it will be from the jump. And I think that is very on the board. You could also be interested in Aja Wilson props, as her leaving this series without 30 points in any of the games, I think would be a bit of an upset. If I told you the series is going to go 3, is Aja going to get to 30 once? You would think yes. But Aja's been very efficient now in both of these games. 10 of 18 in game number 1 and 7 of 12 in game number 2. She left a lot to be desired at the line in the second game, so that's where you could see some of that positive regression. Her prop tonight is 24.5, but I tend to believe that this is a spot where Vegas shows, okay, we lost the game. It is what it is. Maybe it's good we got one out of the way. Lock in focus. If that's a 2-point game either direction at the break, if it's a 5-point game either direction at the break, that might feel a little close for comfort. That number's 4.5 tonight in the first half. Again, the updated standings of where everything is within this WNBA market, due to the Lynx already advancing, they're up to minus 155. I can't argue with that. The books, though, now have made a decision on something that I agree with, which is creating a lot of separation from Vegas and everyone else. And that's because the Liberty, who were favorites to beat the Mercury and were favorites in game 1, which they won, lose game 2 at home and are now dogs in game 3 back in Phoenix. So you see how the market has moved. The Liberty now behind the Atlanta Dream in the market, 10-1 Atlanta, 13-1 New York. Phoenix is at 15. You could probably argue value on Phoenix, better number than the Liberty and a dog. But again, for the Lynx, the value is that series went a little longer. The tough part for the Lynx is just you're playing the Liberty or the Mercury next round. And price-wise, that could be shorter than if we see potentially a Vegas-Atlanta matchup. We'll see what we see. Major League Baseball board off and running a couple of games. Donnie said keep your eyes on the Reds tonight. Very curious what we see from Aaron Judge in this MVP race with Cal Raleigh. We pause, though, here on all of this and get into the world of soccer with our guy Marcelino Ortiz next, right here. It's Game Time Decisions. You're in the Super Bowl market, if you're in the futures market, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is heavily connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sure it would be Tyreek's first place if he could pick to go back to. At least I would think it would be. And the Chiefs have a need, and the Chiefs are interested, and they're not worried about any of his other question marks.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
51-0, Donnie.
Yeah.
Those numbers don't lie. Georgia, every time they rush for over 200 yards, that's dating back from 2017 against FCS and FBS opponents. They don't lose. The 2 years that they won back-to-back national championships, Year 1, they rushed for over 208 times. Year 2, when they beat TCU, that year they rushed for over 206 times.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look at the weather, try to look for some anytime touchdowns or maybe some props that you really feel confident about. But it's always the time for urgency, especially for a team like the New York Giants. I think that defense is something that can give Giants fans hope. And then if you get Dart under center, it's hope. And then if you can get Scatterboo out there and the whole building's going boo, it's hope. And as we know, hope works.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions on a Thursday night. Kevin Walsh with you here on SportsGrid. We have the barn burner between Charlotte and Rice, which is going to get underway. In the back, they're settling on a first half over 20.5. If you're sold, and go for it. We've seen some people talk about Rice money line elsewhere on the socials. And listen, it kind of shows that we can get involved with a number of things. So let's get involved with the world of soccer. That means we've got our guy Marcelino Ortiz helping us out. Marcelino, how are you, my friend?
Very good, my friends. I'm here, ready to go. Greetings from Latin Nation Football Club every Friday here on SportsGrid, dishing out everything that you need to know in the world of soccer or football, whatever you call it, we have it here. And this weekend, my friends, we have a lot of exciting games. And so let's start with MLS. We have Miami versus DC United at DC United. And this one, it's a big game. I have Miami as a clear favorite. They just come from beating Seattle 3-1, avenging their loss in the League's Cup final. That was a big issue because Luis Suarez ended up being suspended. I think that will be a factor. Now, let's talk about DC United. DC United is a team that is one of the most famous in the league, but right now they are doing really poorly. They just fired their general manager after doing the most expensive signing on MLS, $22 million for Christian Benteke, and has not had any impact. They're in the bottom side of the table, but this is an explosive player. So my propositions for this game are clearly Messi to score, both teams to score, and both teams to score on both halves. These are two teams that have leaked goals every single game. They are not strong defensively, and that's an opportunity that you must not miss.
Let me just ask you quickly, Marcelino, for this Inter Miami team, I look at the MLS table, and they're kind of far back, but they've also got like 3 games in hand relative to what's at the top of the table there. Do they still shape up as the favorites right now within this league, in your opinion?
It is decreasingly so, the opinion that I have. Miami was really strong, but the discipline issues that they've been showing and, the fact that Luis Suarez is going to be 3 games out of the equation, it will affect them definitely. I see that they will make points from these games in hand that they have, but I don't believe that they will be the Supporter Shield winners anymore. I think that this is now a race between Cincinnati and Charlotte. They are very strong, and Miami, they will have to figure out a way to keep Messi playing at the highest level without support. The supporting cast around Messi has struggled to perform, and that has made an opportunity for other teams to steal what at the beginning of the season seemed to be a sure thing for Miami.
All right, let's move it over to the Premier League. Last week, Marcelino, we talked about the Manchester Derby, and United needed a result. Wasn't going to be easy against City. Erling Haaland was incredible in the game, and it was a 3-0 City result. United back at Old Trafford, but another tough opponent in Chelsea. What do you expect in this game?
This, unfortunately, will fare poorly for Manchester United. Manchester United is in a very precarious situation. Amorim had the team very convinced that this will be a different season, but it's not the case. It seems that the problems at United continue. So my money is on Chelsea. Now, Chelsea has a few injury issues. They come from a loss in Champions League, which we were all expecting for them to win after almost $500 million of investment in the last 2 years in this squad. But for this game in the Premier League, I don't see Manchester United, even at Old Trafford, having anything to detain the massive forward power that Chelsea has accumulated this summer window.
Marcelino, I'll leave it to you over in the Mexican Soccer League. There's a number of important matches this weekend. Let the people know which one stood out to you.
First one, the Pumas game. Pumas is my team in Mexico, and I think that the game that they're going to play against Tigres, one of the best teams in the league, is going to be a tough way for Pumas to see if they're ready for the playoffs. Now, Tigres is a team that has always had a big budget. So my predictions for this game are clear. Pumas will win this game. It will be a hard-fought game. I think that we're going to go under on the goals because these two teams are fierce defenders. So my bet is on Pumas, although they're favored and not a lot of money to be made, but better a little bit than lose your money.
All right. We'll keep our eyes on all of that, Marcelino. Again, Monterrey and Club America are also in an important one. So make sure you check out everything that Marcelino and the team over there do. Marcelino, we appreciate it as always.
Thank you so much. And remember, every Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid, we have Latin Nation Football Club with everything you need to know to be successful in your upcoming bets.
Fantastic. We head back to the gridiron after a quick break right here on Sports Grid. It's Game Time Decisions. If you're in the Super Bowl market, if you're in the futures market, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is heavily connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sure it would be Tyreek's first place if he could pick to go back to. At least I would think it would be. And the Chiefs have a need, and the Chiefs are interested, and they're not worried about any of his other question marks.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
51-0, Donnie.
Yeah.
Those numbers don't lie. Georgia, every time they rush for over 200 yards, that's dating back from 2017 against FCS and FBS opponents. They don't lose. The 2 years that they won back-to-back national championships, Year one, they rushed for over 208 times. Year two, when they beat TCU, that year they rushed for over 206 times.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look at the weather, try to look for some anytime touchdowns or maybe some props that you really feel confident about. But it's always the time for urgency, especially for a team like the New York Giants. I think that defense is something that can give Giants fans hope. And then if you get Dart under center, it's hope. And get Scatterboo out there and the whole building's going boo. It's hope. And as we know, hope works.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions with you right here on Sports Grid. Kevin Walsh now joined by a great friend and an even better football mind. That's Mike Blewett. Mike Blewett will lead our in-game live coverage this Sunday, as he always does throughout the NFL slate starting at 1 o'clock. And, Mike, there's some good games for us to discuss when we get there. But I want to begin with Thursday Night Football. I want to know where you're at. This is a big-time number here between the Bills and the Dolphins. Big-time total as well, which is ticking up in various spots to 50.5. What is standing out to you?
So on these Thursday night games, granted it's early in the season, but Kev, once the season starts, we already see the injuries start to take a toll on the Bills defense included. So Ed Oliver, Matt Milano, not going to ring the bell tonight. We obviously have big-time injuries around the league. Now, you could argue, obviously, that the loss of those defenders might lead to Miami being able to move the ball, and that's a fair argument. But what I think is that Buffalo is going to try to control the ball. James Cook is a little banged up. Josh Allen obviously has the nose issue. He's going to wear a visor to try to protect that today. But in these last few days, it's all leading me, Kev, to say that I actually think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I think that the Bills will try to control the clock. They might utilize more than James Cook and Josh Allen in the run game, as they did at the end of the game the other day against the Jets, and just try to bleed the clock here. That leads me obviously to, when you have a lower scoring game, are you going to lay 11.5 points? I'm not going to do that. I actually lean towards some Josh Allen rushing numbers because I thought they were too low. 29.5 is his rushing total. I think he'll run enough in order to be able to get over that. And I'm going to take the under 50.5. And I know there's some risk there, but I prefer the under today.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I think that while a defense can be really bad, which it appears Miami's is. It doesn't mean they will give up 30, 35 points in every single game. And I think Miami's defense, I think the Bills' offense has actually been, this might work with me here, Mike. I think it's been a little weird in that I know they've now scored 71 points through 2 games. But in the first game, they scored 22 of the 41 in the fourth quarter. It wasn't pedal to the metal, aggressive, and dominant. And then against the Jets, they didn't need to be. I know that means they still got to 30. I think that says more about a Jets defense that is reeling early season. We don't let it's like, they scored 30 on the Jets. What are they going to do to the Dolphins? I don't know. The same. The Jets defense has been awful so far this season. Like the Dolphins defense, which was terrible against the Colts, Mike, well, the Broncos played the Colts, and it was to the same result. So I'm not sure Daniel Jones keeps that up all year. I think there's got to be a level of grace for the Dolphins within that. The Bills' defense is incredibly banged up in this football game. But also, Mike, I'm just always a proponent of spread math at times. If the books tell me one thing, well, sometimes they will be hypocritical, if you will, the next week. The books told me Baltimore's better than Buffalo. They were 1.5-point favorite in Buffalo in week number 1. Baltimore last week then laid the same exact number to the Browns. The Dolphins are better than the Browns. I'm sorry. I think this number is totally out of whack.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, what we've seen from the Dolphins, really bad play. They've obviously gotten banged up a little bit, too. I think that there's a lot of momentum, too, to assume that Mike McDaniel is going to lose this game and get fired. I think that's an underlying story around this game. I don't know that it's too reactionary. I think Mike McDaniel is going to have a tough time if he goes 0-3 here. And again, the problem I guess I have with the Dolphins more than anything is last week they did look totally disjointed offensively. They put up 27 points. 7 of that was a kick return. They gave up 33. Again, they gave up a kick return. So that game was unusually high scoring, and again, does not really tell the story of how that game was going. I think both offenses struggled at times. Tua's been hit or miss. Obviously, he's been prone to throwing interceptions. I'm going to have to side with you overall, though, in that I just think this is too many points where I think the score ends up. If it sails over 50 and into the 60s, I could be wrong on this, but I think you raise a fair point about the Bills' offense too. But we see this with them, right? They don't have a standout pass catcher right now. It does rely a lot on what Josh Allen is going to do. And if James Cook isn't 100% and Allen, I have to assume Allen is near 100%. I'm sure the broken nose or the nose injury, whatever it may be, the extent of it may be, is painful. But I don't know that it impacts his play all that much. I think you're speaking to the inconsistency at times that we see with the Bills. He is an explosive MVP player, but do we rely on Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Dawson Knox, and Dalton Kincaid week in, week out? It's hard to.
Yeah, well, that is a larger conversation about, in some areas, Super Bowl favorite Buffalo, right? And did last year's lack of weapons that were a concern not change? It's the same weapons. Have we all accepted that being their solution when we talk about the market? And I think it works into the MVP market, Mike. Let me ask you this, where Josh Allen grabs that head-to-head victory over Lamar in week number 1, and it's like, ooh, could that be a difference maker? But Josh does much of nothing in the game against the Jets. Again, didn't need to, but Lamar somehow stumbled into 4 passing touchdowns against the Browns.
Yeah.
It was a very odd game. I know you guys were covering that on In Game Live. If Josh Allen in this game again plays average, and Lamar lights up Detroit on Monday night, I think Lamar might already take back the MVP favorite status.
Yeah, I think that's true. I also think you and I have discussed this on this very show that I think there's an impetus at times for voters to mix things up. And I don't know that anybody is carrying the water for Lamar based on what happened at the end of last year. I think everybody realizes that the hay was in the barn for a lot of voters on Josh Allen. It somewhat ignored the final month of the season that Lamar had, which was electric. And now I think people are going to see, well, Lamar maybe got hosed out of one last year. Let's see if we can get him one back, or maybe he's already the favorite in some people's minds going into the year. The Chiefs' offense is broken right now, and Lamar's going to put up spectacular numbers. Does Derrick Henry mute it a little bit with his ability to score touchdowns? Perhaps, but it's never really been a problem for Lamar to put up numbers. These guys will both put up huge numbers throughout the year. And does a 14-3 versus 15-2 record decide it? I think it'll be interesting to watch, but it would not surprise me at all if Lamar is back in the lead of the MVP voting as of Monday.
Which I think is just, for me, from an odds perspective, it does show how fickle that can be. Again, we're now, hypothesizing multiple QB performances in Josh's and Lamar's this weekend, but I don't think that if Josh wins MVP, I don't think him winning in week number 1 is going to be the top reason. But I think, 3 weeks into the season, that should maybe hold a little bit more weight than it seems like it's going to when the dust ultimately settles at the end of this week. I don't know. That seems to be the read. Mike doesn't seem to really disagree all too much. We are coming up against a break here. We're going to have Mike Blewett back again. Mike does an excellent job manning the ship for that Sunday slate at 1 o'clock, which features, Eagles-Rams, great one, right? Interesting spot between the Packers where, is this Browns defense for real? Maybe we find out. But also, and I said if he didn't see this coming, that's on Mike Blewett, the return of Carson Wentz. And how excited is Mike Blewett for that return of Carson Wentz? We'll find out after the break. We're live with you on SportsGrid. If you're in the Super Bowl market, if you're in the futures market, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is heavily connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sure it would be Tyreek's first place if he could pick to go back to. At least I would think it would be. And the Chiefs have a need, and the Chiefs are interested, and they're not worried about any of his other question marks.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
51-0, Donnie.
Yeah.
Those numbers don't lie. Georgia, every time they rush for over 200 yards, that's dating back from 2017 against FCS and FBS opponents. They don't lose. The 2 years that they won back-to-back national championships, Year 1, they rushed for over 208 times. Year 2, when they beat TCU, that year they rushed for over 206 times.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look at the weather, try to look for some anytime touchdowns or maybe some props that you really feel confident about. But it's always the time for urgency, especially for a team like the New York Giants. I think that defense is something that can give Giants fans hope. And then if you get Dart under center, it's hope. And then if you can get Scatterboo out there and the whole building's going boo, it's hope. And as we know, hope works.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
They're moving the football. They're moving it, Charlotte Rice. Mikey B, what's the word? Mike Blewett's with us here. Mike, are you locked in on the Charlotte Rice game? It screams Mike Blewett to me.
I'm not as of
all
right
right.
now, but
Fair enough.
you know, who
BC
doesn't
off
like?
to a slow start. College football, not your year.
It's not great. It's not great. Maybe the 10:30 p.m. Eastern time kickoff was not for our guys. What
Maybe
are we
not.
doing? Why are we kicking off
Hey.
near midnight East Coast time, taking an L to Stanford? Frank Reich, Bill O'Brien, underrated coaching matchup in college football.
Sure.
Didn't go our way.
Sure. Hey, get it next time is what we always say when we're talking Eagles. Well, really BC Eagles, because for the Philadelphia Eagles, they get him next time. They get him also the first time. The Eagles don't lose. Mike, you want to hear a crazy thing? The last time Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown lost a game they both finished was in 2023. 2025, last I checked. 3.5-point favorites against the Rams. Look, there's a lot of interesting spots for you on the in-game live 1 p.m. slate, but the best game is clearly Eagles-Rams. Wondering what you're thinking about that.
First of all, bonus, because that normally is your like 425 America's game.
Yeah.
Somehow it's the Cowboys-Bears this weekend, but Dallas and Chicago, big markets. So I'm fired up for it. Obviously, these two teams battled in the postseason last year. They gave the Eagles their toughest game during that postseason run. I have been bullish on the Rams during this offseason. And look, there's a lot of different angles you can take on the Eagles, but they're totally dominant. They're 16-1 in their last 17. The one game that they lost was that fluky loss to the Commanders. They are on a historic run right now. And you and I would probably both say, and their offense isn't clicking yet. We haven't gotten the wide receivers involved in the way that they'd want to in order to be an elite offense, but they control the ball really well. The defense is playing the way they need to play and has sort of shut down two offenses thus far. Definitely kept them muted. And I'm really excited for this one. I think the fact that the Rams have to travel cross country and try to get this win on the road will be tough. I do expect another tight game for the Eagles, but the Eagles get the victory here. I'm excited, though, to watch Stafford and Hurts go at it. It's going to be really vital for the Rams offensive line, which has improved over the last couple of seasons, to be able to protect Stafford, as he's not, I would call him immobile at this point relative to some other QBs in the league.
Yeah, I am so excited to watch this one play out because I think for the winner, let me put it. The Eagles are and should be the NFC favorites at minimum. But for the Rams, a win here, and you can make that argument. And I think the Rams could potentially take back status as NFC West favorites, regardless of the result in San Francisco, Arizona, if they pull off the upset against the Eagles. All right, now let's be honest. Let's get to it, Mike, all right? Come on. This guy, Carson Wentz. So here's the full scope of this game. I bet, and to your surprise, Cincinnati to win this Super Bowl. And that's obviously, tough because Joe Burrow is potentially out for the season. But to soften the blow, the first full game without Joe Burrow, Carson Wentz is on the other side. And, you always got to root in Carson Wentz when you get that opportunity, Mike. I mean, we get it every year, but it's rare when we do get it. It's a quarterback double up here, though, in Browning and Wentz. Truly, what stands out to you when you try and break this game down?
Well, Wentz's guy is not going away, right? He's finding a way to stay on these rosters and earn backup jobs and now in this instance, once again, get a start. I think the concerning part for me about Wentz is that he hasn't really been with Minnesota all that long. It's not like he spent the entire offseason with them. They dealt Sam Howell, and then Wentz was in there a little bit later in the process for Minnesota, whereas Jake Browning has been with the Bengals since 2019 and undrafted free agent since 2019, been in the system a long time. That's why they trust him. I think that's why you didn't hear really too much in the way of the trade market, Kev. Obviously, you and I can cook up rumors with the best of them, but I don't think there's anything there for the Bengals to go look for one of the Giants veterans or a Kirk Cousins. I just don't think that's in the cards. I think Jake Browning starts the rest of the year, barring an injury. So I just have a lot of the Bengals pulled off a huge win the other day. Might say more about the Jaguars than the Bengals. I would say, though, that I have a little bit more confidence in the Bengals not being consistent offensively than I might the Vikings. That being said, what was the Vikings offense before McCarthy got hurt? They played one good quarter so far. I think this is a high-scoring affair. That's why I'm excited for it. Might be some picks in the mix here as well on both ends, but I think we do see points here. The Bengals are just going to have to keep going pedal to the metal. It's the way the team was built from the offseason. I think we're over this number. I would probably shade with the Bengals just taking the points here.
Yeah, but I already hear it in your voice. You're looking to bet both of these guys for an interception. Listen, Mike, just hear me out before we let you.
Hayes in the barn, Kev.
Mike, Wentz keeping this job longer than the McCarthy timeline? Like 50-50?
No.
Oh, come on. You're higher. You're right. No, you're right. 75-25. You're right, Mike. You're right. I shorted that a little bit. I did. That's on me.
75-25 in one direction.
Well, J.J. McCarthy's not good. Have you considered that?
I am not a big McCarthy fan. I wasn't a fan of the pick.
75-25 Wentz. Hard to argue.
Reading what the Vikings just did. They ditched Sam Arnold, by the way, possible all-pro season coming up for Darnold. They have ditched Darnold for McCarthy. They're all in on McCarthy. And I don't think Wentz is going to take the job in 2 weeks, even though this might be a fake ankle injury.
Well, but see, they're all in, but not really by choice. And therefore, when you get an escape plan, it's called Carson Wentz, and you take that escape plan. Mike, always a treat. Again, in-game live Sundays, 1 o'clock. Mike Blewett has you covered. We give you the best bets on the way out here of Game Time Decisions. You're in the Super Bowl market, if you're in the futures market, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is heavily connected to the Kansas City Chiefs. I am sure it would be Tyreek's first place if he could pick to go back to. At least I would think it would be. And the Chiefs have a need, and the Chiefs are interested, and they're not worried about any of his other question marks.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
51-0, Donnie.
Yeah.
Those numbers don't lie. Georgia, every time they rush for over 200 yards, that's dating back from 2017 against FCS and FBS opponents. They don't lose. The 2 years that they won back-to-back national championships, Year one, they rushed for over 208 times. Year two, when they beat TCU, that year they rushed for over 206 times.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look at the weather, try to look for some anytime touchdowns or maybe some props that you really feel confident about. But it's always the time for urgency, especially for a team like the New York Giants. I think that defense is something that can give Giants fans hope. And then if you get Dart under center, it's hope. And then if you can get Scatterboo out there and the whole building's going boo, it's hope. And as we know, hope works.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions one final time before in-game live takes over with Gabriel Morency and Scott Wetzel. They will have you covered for Thursday night football. That should be an absolute treat as Gabe is a Bills fan and Wetzel is a Dolphins fan. Oh, you're in for a good one. Oh my gosh, you're in for it. Why am I still here? Get these guys on air. Are you nuts? Why am I here? That's going to be great. That's can't miss. That is can't miss. We'll give you the best bets and everything again just quickly. All right, live board. Atlanta, Indiana, first quarter, rocket ship. Totals 15 points taller than close. 169.5 live. 5.5 point favorite for Atlanta. They do trail by 2. Gives you an idea where that is settled up. Yerfie, if you played it in Yanks O's, New York up 2-0. Scoreless between the Reds and the Cubs through 3 and through the first inning of Brewers Angels. Don't forget late night Yamamoto Webb in the matchup between the Dodgers and the Giants. The College Football Board, if you are following and in the mix, has a 3-0 Charlotte lead right now. Rice, though, is driving. So, again, keep eyes on that. Rice actually down 3-0 because they're driving. Sat as 3.5 point favorites live. Let's talk football. Let's talk Thursday night football. Buffalo and Miami. I cannot wait for this game. Miami has a Dolphin. I am on the Dolphins plus 12.5. Guys in the back with their best bets. Chris, the Josh Allen first half touchdown. Plus 155. Like I said, I think that can win, but if it doesn't, and you really like Josh to score, you like the game script, you'll be able to probably catch a plus price on Josh live. Just a, a little keep your eyes on it type of situation. And then you've got a 3.5 first quarter play on Buffalo from Sam. That is at a plus price. To run through this again with the Miami Dolphins. And there are just countless ways to talk through this. But the first is just simply, what did you think this number was going to be when it opened? Now, maybe you thought it was going to be massive, okay? You guys know that I respect the opinion of Brady Cannon, who joins us regularly and will be joining us again tomorrow to talk about the openers and the movement within the market. He thought this might be 14, right? Or he made it 14, right? I thought that this would probably be over 7, and in which I might be interested in Miami. And at 10, I had to get involved. At 12.5, it is just a stunning number for a Dolphins team who entered the year. You have to understand, their win total was not 3.5, 4.5. They're not the Saints. They're not the Browns. Okay? The defense is bad. I thought the defense would be bad. The offense last week had some juice. Tua threw for 300. Tyreek for 100, right? Devon Achane is incredible. There's movement there. There's stuff that you can buy into and sink your teeth into on that side of the football. And that is very, very important when you're trying to cover a number. Can we score? If the other team gets out to 24, 28, 30, can you get in range? And I absolutely believe the Miami Dolphins can, because you have a Buffalo Bills team that is very injured. The Buffalo Bills secondary has been banged up to start the year. We saw it taken advantage of massively by Lamar Jackson in the opener. Justin Fields was a disaster in game number 2. Okay, that is fine. But we came into this game, it's like, I wonder if Jalen Waddle's going to play. Ask a Buffalo Bill fan if you know any. Who is a more important player to their respective team? Jalen Waddle to the Dolphins, who is playing, by the way, or Matt Milano to the Bills, who's not playing? They will all tell you Matt Milano. That or they've changed their opinion, because last year I heard that Matt Milano was the most important player on the Buffalo Bills defense, who's also missing monster in the middle, Ed Oliver. This number is completely out of whack. It is the same number the Ravens laid to the Browns. I am happy to be on the Dolphins. I think Miami can score first, and we're in for a good one. This is pull yourself up by the bootstraps and lock in. or they're firing and trading and cutting a lot of people. A lot of jobs on the, when they fire a head coach, by the way, he's not the only one who loses his job. Clock starts to tick. Clock is kicking a tick off. In-game live has you covered with Wetzel and Morenzi next. There are right now 10 teams who are 0-2.